Ruselli Northern supports upstate New York construction with over 400 employees, 250 trucks, 9 ready-mix plants, 4 blacktop plants, and 40 aggregate mines. But their most important number is your bottom line. Contact them today to see why Ruselli Northern has been the choice for contractors and project managers across upstate New York since 1929.
Keith Kaminsky, fucking good in the ball!
Santel, all the way to the basket, foul, lays it in for
2! Hello there, high school basketball fans. Welcome to the Upstate Hoops Podcast here on Monday, January 15th, 2024. I'm Jim Sinicropi, alongside Paul Russo and Kyle Evans here inside the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls. And today, on Martin Luther King Day special edition of the podcast, we'll look back at the past week of action, preview this week's games, and let you know what the power rankings look like. Our Week 6 boys and girls Wayne Finger Lakes basketball power rankings. But first, the Upstate Hoops Podcast and all of our coverage of Wayne Finger Lakes High School basketball is brought to you thanks to the support of Cicino's Pizzeria and Restaurant. Order online at Cicinos.com. Ruselli Northern, supporting local construction since 1929 with premium products and quality service. Dr. Jeffrey Halstead, Canandaigua's hometown dentist for more than 35 years. Generations Bank, serving the financial needs of the Finger Lakes since 1870. Little John and Barbie Orthodontics. Check out Dr. Rod and Dr. Liz online at littlejohnortho.com. And DeSanto Propane since 1937. The difference has been DeSanto Propane. So, welcome back, guys, on a Monday. Kind of a different Monday. It's a holiday. Schools and banks and post offices are closed. Buffalo Bills playoff game coming up in a couple hours. But for the next 30 to 45 minutes here, we're going to be talking high school basketball. And start out with Friday night, we were expecting the game of the year in boys basketball, Wayne versus Newark. You guys were there courtside calling the game, and then all of a sudden it's over. What happened?
Well, I think it's safe to say a first. At least for me, it was a first anyway, and seemed like it was a first for pretty much everybody involved. Get to halftime, and pretty much halfway through the halftime break, power goes out. Transformer blew somewhere up along 104, the corridor up there, the way it sounds. So that was an unfortunate quick suspension. Not over just yet, but suspension of the game. And to be determined, obviously, the logistical end of it, what we'll see for the rest of the game. But before I toss to you, Kyle, I just want to give a quick kudos to pretty much everybody there. Not to put it, I guess, in a dumbed-down way, but from the fans' perspective of things, everybody did what we were taught in second grade to do, right? Remain calm, be cool about it, right? And just kudos to the Wayne administration, as well as the folks from Newark administrative-wise there, from the coaches all the way up. Everybody kind of, obviously disappointed in the moment, but kind of exiting, everybody's just kind of chuckling a little bit, right? Because, I mean, what can you do in a moment like that? So,
go home.
Right. And that's what, unfortunately, everybody did, probably about an hour, 30 minutes to an hour before I think we all expected to.
Yeah, and what was weird is it went out, and remember, then it came back on for like a second or two.
It did. Yeah.
And then you could hear the whole crowd go, oh, because I went out a second time, and I knew we were in trouble after that. But, yeah, it was a good first half. I was really looking forward to the second half, and now we kind of just wait and see when this finishes. They don't meet again until the 9th of, obviously, next month, so I'm not sure what they're going to do. And the last day of games, I think, are the 14th.
Yeah.
So,
tough to make up something like that, and I don't think you necessarily want to do it on the heels of the next time they meet and make it like a game and a half doubleheader. I mean, that's not really.
Yeah. And I know too, at least, and I can't speak to Wayne's exact schedule, but I only know this because of our own kind of broadcasting schedule. I know Newark plays the 13th anyway at Paul Max. So, not to go, I guess, inside baseball here too much, right? But, I mean, I can't imagine unless you really have to, you want to play that last day of the season.
No, they'll probably find a time. Actually, Newark and Wayne not too far apart from
not
each
really.
other, so they should be able to figure out a time to pop over and play, 16 more minutes of basketball?
Give or take, yeah. Yeah, that's the tough part about it, right, is, on a lot of different levels, right? It's like, damn, you really got to come back for pretty much only probably, right you said, right, Jim? 16 minutes of game time at least, right? You never know. But, and then maybe real time of like half hour, maybe 45 minutes. Like, it's just, that end of it, right, sucks for everybody involved.
Well, it reminds me of a game that I was calling with Matt Verkey, 2000, maybe 15, 16. I can't remember. It was a Lions-Clyde game with like Derek Chance and Drew Carnevale, and Lions had Justice Smith, and it was like the game of the year. It was in Clyde, and it was freezing out. It was like a 5-degree night, and it was a weeknight. I think it was a weeknight. But anyways, we're getting ready to call the game, and we start the broadcast, and we give do our openings and stuff, and then all of a sudden there was a gas leak in the school.
Yeah.
So everybody cleared the gymnasium. We were one of the last people to leave because we had this live broadcast going. So I told everybody, "Hey, we'll be back." So we left the live stream going.
Mm-hmm.
Empty gym. It's all still online, this YouTube video, but empty gym was kind of scary. And about 45 minutes to an hour. The teams were back on the buses. The fans were in their cars. It was freezing out. They did bring everybody back in and finally threw up the first tip like around 9:30.
Wow.
And played it out. And I think I know Clyde won in a close game and stormed the court. And that was for the Wayne County Championship. But that was definitely a strange night. And yeah, it was a late night too.
Yeah, I'll say this, and obviously, for our broadcast Friday, again, we'll inside baseball portion of it, right? So for us, the way we broadcast, right, our laptop that we use and the hotspot that we use, they're all juiced up. They're fine because they've been either plugged in or have been plugged in, right? So we were able to keep our end of stream kind of stuff going because of our graphic that we had up and everything, and
You should have just made up the second half.
yeah, I mean, but that's
Script it.
the tough part about it, right? Because our soundboard that we use, which is how you hear not only our voices but our ad reads and
the
stuff
soundboard
like
is
that, plugged in, and that does not have the battery backup involved with that. So, unfortunately, we couldn't kind of keep going vocally. We were able to throw up one of the stock graphics we have on our software end of things, is kind of doing our best to let people know.
Yep.
And yeah, hopefully, like I said, I really look forward to whenever that game ends up getting going, the result of it, because it was a really, really good game that first half. It was fast-paced, not a ton of errors on either side of the ball there for Newark or Wayne, so it was really shaping up to be about as classic of a game as we've probably had in a couple of years, really.
Yeah, were you surprised, Kyle, that Newark was able to kind of stay with them on their home court in Wayne?
Yeah, and Kellen Foster was held scoreless in the first quarter. I think it was mid-second quarter, and he had his first basket.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Blankenberg was kind of off to a cold shooting start a little bit.
Yep.
PJ Ostrowski, though, man, he getting to the rim. He just flies right in there and does the
No
the hard
fear.
work. Yep. So, yeah, I was kind of surprised, but, we still had a whole second half, so anything could happen.
I think that's one of Newark's strengths is they do have some depth, especially in scoring, because Colin Foster has been known to have some big nights and then kind of disappear for a game or two. So they can certainly spread it around a little bit more than I think maybe Wayne can, who those are the top two guys, Ostrowski and Blankenberg, in terms of scoring, and Ostrowski not really a natural scorer, so it's really a lot of pressure on Blankenberg. He's potentially the best player in the league and one of the better players in Section 5, so it's a good guy to be able to lean on because he does seem to throw up 30 every night. But anyways, that was a game we were looking forward to. We got treated to the first half, and then that was about it. So, but plenty of games did get played in the past week, and let's get right to it and run through the results on the hardwood for the past week, starting with the boys. On Monday night, Geneva and Avon went to double overtime. Now, Avon's undefeated at 10-0 after this win. It was a 2-point win, 49-47, over Geneva. Deshaun Bruce had 11 points for the Panthers, but it wasn't enough in double OT, so not a league loss, but the second loss for the Panthers. Interesting to see Sodus and Red Creek in Wayne County on Monday night. Sodus eked out a 2-point victory over 4-6 Red Creek squad. So Sodus got the win, but maybe we were looking for something a little more convincing there. Midlake's got a nice win over Haverling, 64-62. Kyle Kumke, 30 points. And then Clyde, Savannah, and Lions. Locked-horns in Lions, again, renewing the rivalry, which is of late has not been much of a rivalry. Lions wins by 62, 93-31. Des Bell, 14 points. Devin Williams, 14 points. Mike Briggs, 13. Jameer Johnson, 13. Tanner Bush with 16 for Clyde, Savannah. Moving ahead to Wednesday night. Minders played Wayne ahead of that Friday night game between Wayne and Newark in the Finger Lakes East, and it was all Wayne 62-47. 30 points for Blankenberg, 22 points for Ostrowski. Lions back in action also on Wednesday night, defeating Gananda, former Wayne County League opponent, 85-62. 26 points for Jameer Johnson, 25 for Mike Briggs. For Gananda, Miles Cavanis had 20, Hunter Vogt had 18, and Cooper Grassel had 15. The East Rochester boys on Wednesday night improved to 10-0. They defeated Waterloo 50-39, behind 15 points from Ray Allen and 14 points from Judah Tanner. Devin Mulvey Salerno had 13 to lead the way for the Tigers. Thursday night, Finger Lakes West action. South Seneca defeats Dundee Bradford 50-34. 24 points for Kenny Halsey, 12 points for Taj Amasano. Dundee Bradford led by 11 from Chris Clancy. Staying in the West, Penn Yan, playing in the West this year, defeated Naples 62-36 to improve their record to an even 5-5. And in a little rivalry game, it was Bloomfield defeating Honeoye 64-45. Moving ahead to Friday night, you can see a full slate on Friday night. Probably the story of the week, and we'll talk about it in a second when I get through this scoreboard here. Marcus Whitman defeats Palmac 48-39 to improve to 7-3 on the season. Palmac falls to 6-5. Brody Royston, as usual, leading the way for the Wildcats with 16 points. Logan Storms with 13. Malcolm Blue Eye with 10. And for Palmac, it was Shane Meyer with 12. And a little bit of a, we know that Whitman can hang, but I think they're kind of exceeding expectations as of lately in the East, working their way into the top half of the league standings with a nice win on the road at Palmac. Mid-Lakes traveled to Seneca Falls to take on Minders on Friday night. Minders won 72-51. 21 points from Anthony Luffman, 17 points from Jake Prain. Alan Plummer and Griffin Hillmeyer, 9 points apiece. And for Mid-Lakes, Kyle Kumke, 30 points again. I mean, automatic. I think the over-under on Kyle Kumke's got to be like 29.5 each game. He always tends to get 30. Geneva taking on Waterloo, bit of a crosstown rival there, but it was all Geneva improving to 7-2 with a 67-38 win. Deshaun Bruce with 16 points, Andrew Green with 13, and Benjamin Ireland with 9. Carter Peterson led the way for Waterloo with 11. And then HAC, boys off to a good start. Falls to School of the Arts 49-47, a bit of a differentiation there in classifications, I think, but a 2-point loss for HAC. Harlan Novi Marks with 18. Ryan D. Arduini with 11. HAC falls to 8-2. And then East Rochester improved on their undefeated mark on Friday night, defeating North Rose Wolcott 55-39. Moved to 11-0, behind 12 points from Eli Tanner and 12 points from Juder Tanner and 10 points from Elijah Tanner. So the Tanners get it done for East Rochester, now undefeated at 11-0. For North Rose Wolcott, Cody Crane had 17 points. And then Lions took on CG Finney. That's a team that's been Lions fans probably are pretty sick of over the past 4 or 5 years. They've knocked them out of the postseason a few times with some really good teams. And they got the win here again tonight. CG Finney 68, Lions 62. 20 points from Jameer Johnson, 13 from Mikey Briggs, Devin Williams with 11, and Stephen LeBrecq with 10. So, guys, I mean, let's start out first here by talking about that Whitman-Pal-Mac game. Paul, I know you've seen both these teams in person so far this year, and got to say, it's an impressive win in what Coach O'Connor's doing with this particular group. I just thought there may be another year off or so, but, making some noise in the Finger Lakes East.
Yeah, I can't say maybe all that surprised, admittedly. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where for me is looks like the connection from our remote to the computer's down, and now we're back, I believe. I don't know. I guess we get Jim. You're just up on the board for us here while I talk for the moment.
Well, like I said, it was. Yeah, you're right. It's not too big of a surprise. There's some talent there in Marcus Whitman, but it's the smallest school in the East. Pal-Mac got off to a pretty good start the season. Now falls to 6-5, and
I was about to say, now that we got this back going here. So, I mean, I'm not surprised though. I mean, I don't know if it's just something about leaving a Greg O'Connor coach team kind of out. I don't know if I can fully do that, and I mean, you kind of talk around, the other people around the league, and the one main thing they always talk about with Marcus Whitman is kind of the basketball IQ portion of it, right? It's just you always know they're going to be doing the smart thing, the right thing, and I think it's kind of coming out here as the season kind of just keeps going and going and going and progressing along a little bit. And
7-3.
Yeah, I mean,
playing mostly bigger schools.
You don't get to that mark by accident.
And remember, they started 3-3 after losing to Minders on December 19th. So they won 4 in a row, and they're doing it against some league opponents. So, I would say it's quite the hot streak here. And Brody Royston, Logan Storms, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his first name.
Alcomai.
And Blue Eye.
Oh, Blue Eye. I thought you were talking about Miles.
Blue Eye. Yeah, but look, see, they just got 3-4 guys that chip in every night.
And then Pendergrass, I was always under the impression that for Whitman to win games like this, they needed points from Pendergrass. But he wasn't in double digits in this game, and they still won, by 7 points, or actually by 9 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a case with him, too, at this point, right, where maybe he doesn't need to worry about the offense as much as, he can handle the rest on defense, hypothetically, down low in the post or anything like that. He still is one of the taller guys in the league at the end of the day. There's not too many that are going to be taller than him. I think maybe Cam Blankenberg's kind of up there, and outside of that,
he's a guard.
I mean, Eric Finn, too, I guess, for Newark, right? So there's not too many, I guess, in that sense. So, I mean, hey, and it's one of those things where I know you mentioned last week, Jim, about sectionals and stuff like that, and you get these wins and helps them out. They're down in B2, and we talked about it a little bit before, a couple of weeks ago about how this could be a team that can make a run way later on in the season because of what they're able to do in league, and they're certainly are living up to I guess our hypotheses at this point.
The other thing coming off this week, we saw Clyde kill Clyde Savannah, and then they face a test against C.G. Finney, and they lose to C.G. Finney to fall to 10-2. Like Kyle, Clyde Lions is always, sectional contenders, and of course they are again this year, and then eventually state contenders, although they haven't really been able to punch that ticket with some really good teams over the past, several years since they went to the Final Four in 2014, was it? Yeah, well, what's your take on the Lions?
Well, I will say it's nice to see them play some of these out-of-league games, and not just win every game by like 60. I think these kind of losses against these non-league opponents will help them in the long run. Like we've always said, in sectionals, when they play an easy Wayne County schedule, they're sometimes not always ready for a more difficult challenge. So I think this loss is kind of big for them. Maybe it'll help them, like I said, in the longer run. And
right.
I mean, what is it? Tomorrow they got Avon. I know we're going to talk about it more coming up, but that's an extremely tough team. I believe they're either undefeated or only have lost one game.
They were undefeated as of the double overtime win over Geneva.
Yeah, they're
early
12-0 now.
Yeah. Okay.
So tomorrow night's game at Avon is going to be, I would say, a must-watch game for Lions.
And then finally, East Rochester quietly 11-0. Lions not in Wayne County, anymore, although believe they would play each other at some point. Seems like Lions is playing the traditional Wayne County teams.
Based on their schedule, it looks like they're playing everybody from Wayne County at least once. So that's spot on.
That will be a good one to keep an eye on, but there's not many undefeated teams in Section 5 at this point of the year, and East Rochester is one of them.
Yeah, and some very close games, too, that they've kind of just pulled out. They only were leading in Waterloo by a point, and they find a way in the fourth quarter always to pull away. Same for Sodus last week as well in Sodus. So, yeah, they just find ways, and, I mean, that's what great teams do. So,
let's switch it over to the girls' side. Look at the results from the week in girls basketball. On Monday night, you had the Geneva girls picking up a win over Red Jacket, slowly building the way back. The win got them to 5-3. Trinity Maxon with 16 points, Megan Forbes with 13, Leah Batterson with 15 for Red Jacket. And then you had Gananda beating Williamson Marion 69-37 to move to 7-1, despite the loss of Kaylee Marvin, who now has moved on to play in Wayne, their neighbor, in the Finger Lakes East, still winning. Is Gananda, a really good Gananda team, even taking away what was their leading scorer. Wednesday night, Minders traveled to East Rochester and came up with a pretty big 16-point win, 51-35, behind 22 points from sophomore Peyton Verkey. Laura McDermott had 18 for ER. Zariah Eldridge and Anaya Eldridge led the way with 13 and 9, respectively. And this was a pretty big win for Minders because they had gone last week to Dundee Bradford to play one of the best teams in the Finger Lakes West and got decimated, really, in what I thought was surprising validation, I guess, of how good Dundee Bradford is on the girls' side, but was still surprised. Interested to see how Minders would bounce back now going to play one of the better teams in Wayne County, and they did avoid the cross-league top of the standing sweep by beating East Rochester, handing them only their second loss, and Minders 7-2 now. So a good bounce back win for Coach Verkey and the Minders girls. HAC really had it handed to them by the Bloomfield girls, 64-15 on Wednesday night. And then in one of the surprising, not shocking, but a little bit surprising, seeing how things have gone so far, the Waterloo girls beat the Newark girls in Newark 70-63 to improve to 6-5. Newark falls to 7-3. Gwen Panic with 20. Macy Mueller with 17. Addison Bree with 16. Takayla Vaughn 26 points to lead the way for the Lady Reds. Natalie Buck with 20. So the Waterloo girls, after a rough start, are kind of a young team, starting to get some of that Waterloo Tiger mojo working back with a big win on the road. Thursday night, Gananda girls beat Clyde Savannah 66-15. And the Lady Lions, squeaked out a win, over Williamson Marion.
Very weird to see.
62-61. Jayla Bell, 33 points, 10 rebounds. Melania Glanton? Millennia, that's right. 17 points, 14 rebounds. And for Williamson Marion, Kate Campbell with 24 points, Elizabeth Brandt with 17. Friday night, Newark back on the winning track with a win over Wayne on the girls' side. The power stayed on in Newark, and it was a 77-50 win for Newark behind 21 points from Takayla Vaughn, 16 points from Karina Natali, Natalie Buck's 12 points, Naomi Jones 11. Palmat girls improved to 7-1 with a 37-18 win over Penn Yan. There were more points scored in the Cowboys-Packers game yesterday, but 37-18 was the win there. And then Minders at Mid-Lakes. Minders on the road to Mid-Lakes, continuing that bounce back after that Dundee Bradford loss with a 48-31 win over Mid-Lakes, led by 14 points from Maddie Verkey and 13 points from Laura McDermott. Chelsea Korzaneski threw in 10. It was Zoe Overslaw with 10 points and Stella Del Papa with 10 points for Mid-Lakes. The Marcus Whitman girls improved to 7-3 with a 52-16 win over Naples. Aisha Clark led the way with 19. And then Dundee Bradford, back in league play, traveled to Ovid to take on South Seneca. Kind of an up-and-coming little South Seneca group here, but Dundee Bradford was too much, winning 69-43, improving to 10-0. Kendall Parker, 21 points. Kaylee Yeoman, 19 points. Cheyenne Grandel with 10. And for South Seneca, it was Kara Hill with 14 and Chloe Scott with 10. And then Waterloo back on the winning track. The Avon girls apparently not the same quality squad as the Avon boys, as Waterloo goes to Avon, home of the original Tom Walls, and wins 69-15 behind 20 points for Madison Bree and Delaney Batten with 15, Tangi Williams with 13. And so guys, looking kind of at the results here, you had that Minders bounce back wins this week after losing to Dundee Bradford, and then you had the Newark girls, I think, kind of finally starting to resemble what we'd expect from the program.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting week. It kind of left me, I wouldn't say more confused, but I definitely have, I feel like, more questions and answers in a weird sense. Like, I think at this point we do know who's, I guess, quote unquote, legit and who's not, in a sense. That being said, some of the results maybe don't reflect that, right? I mean, I think if you're going to last week, I probably would have been like, yeah, Newark girls over Waterloo, for example. But again, I'm not even really surprised Waterloo girls kind of like beat Newark in a sense, like you said, Jim. In a way, it's not, I guess, maybe completely shocking. I mean, it's one of those things where, again, you kind of find these teams, I think, getting their stride. We're into the back half of the season at this point, and you just kind of figure out what you got and what you don't, and you're able to just kind of go at that point and work with what you got. And I think you're kind of seeing that with these teams that, we've been talking about a ton, obviously, with our power rankings and stuff like that. So it was an interesting week. I will say this, and it was one of those things that we kind of, I wouldn't say skipped over on the boys' side, but last week was really weird, obviously, with Tuesday and the wind, and you had a de facto day off for a lot of teams, and it kind of threw a wrench. It ended up being a pretty back-heavy schedule in a way for
I think this
teams.
Newark team's a little inconsistent. I think that on paper, if you watch them, you think they got the most talent, they got size, probably the best team in the East, but they've really been inconsistent. I think they struggled a little bit late in games. Minders girls beat them in a game that I thought that would favor Newark. They kind of sat back in a zone. So, yeah, I don't know. It's wide open, though, in the Finger Lakes East girls. There's no doubt about that. And why? Who do you like?
I mean, Paul Mac's got a 2-game lead. That's
Yeah, well, but Waterloo beat Pelmac, right?
no,
Or who beat Pelmac in Pelmac?
nobody has.
Yeah, somebody beat Pelmac.
They're undefeated.
No, they have one loss.
It's not in league. I know that. They lost to Hornell at Hornell.
Was that the loss?
Yeah.
Yep, that was the loss.
Yeah.
63-59, December 12th.
So did Newark play Pelmac yet?
No, they play Wednesday night
Well, that'll be
in
good.
Pelmac.
That'll be a good one to see. But, yeah, no, I guess you're right. Pelmac's in the driver's seat. But, after that,
But then they play Minders back-to-back, so right there, if they were to go and lose 2, boom, quickly,
No, I
just
mean,
like that, it
I
changes.
don't disagree, but I mean, yeah, a 2-game lead.
well, Pelmac already handed Minders girls one loss.
Right.
In Pelmac. I think,
that was at Minders. That was here.
so now Minders is going to Pelmac?
Yeah.
And then they, like you said, they haven't played. You were just saying they haven't played.
Newark.
Yeah, that'll be the one to watch. And then did Wayne beat Newark, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think
Which
they
was
did.
a bit of a surprise, I thought. I guess that's where I'm getting the inconsistency from Newark. I don't know exactly who they are yet, but from the eye test, they look like one of the better teams that you'll see in the league.
Yeah, I think part of it is just the talent's kind of close enough now at a point that I don't want to do, because it's still the same thing throughout time, right? You still have to go out there and play the game no matter what, but like,
So what's the difference for Pelmac?
don't know.
Terror and goodness.
I mean, I'd go that route. Mariana Hodgins still is really good. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, but the Palmac team that we know anyway has played together for a while together for the most part. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just kind of like one of those things though where you catch lightning in a bottle at a certain point, you can kind of run with it. I mean, I think I go back to the Waterloo at Palmac girls game now 10 days ago, give or take. Like, Waterloo outscored Palmac in the second half that game. I mean, it took Paul Mack having a huge first half to, I guess, guarantee that win in that sense, even though it was a double-digit win. But it's the smallest things where I think, talent-wise, everybody's kind of close enough that
Well, I suppose
everything kind of happened.
Pal Mac's in the driver's seat, but I'm still sticking by my it's wide open until Pal Max beats Newark.
Well,
If once Pal Mac beats Newark, then I think it might be tough to catch them.
Yeah, and if Minders, like I said, goes and beats them, later this week, just like that, the league standings are tied and the overall standings are tied.
It's a lot to ask, though, from Minders. They did lose to him at home, and now they got to travel down there. But Minders is another one of those teams. Like, I guarantee you that the team that showed up to beat East Rochester 51-35 was a lot more impressive than the team that lost by 30 to Dundee Bradford, like 4 days earlier, or what was it, 5 days earlier. So, yeah, and that's part of it in high school basketball, right? Consistency. You want to be able to become consistent enough so when you get to the postseason, you play sectionals, you're not going to get caught with your pants down. So, anyways, with that being said, I think it's time probably to shift over to the power rankings for the week. Let's take a look.
girls up first here.
Yeah, of course, Dundee Bradford. Who would have thought a West team? Not since the heyday of the South Seneca girls have we seen a Finger Lakes West team in the top spot. Pelmac 2, Ganonda 3, despite losing Kaylee Martin to Wayne, still winning games. And then Minders quietly, I think that, the early loss to Pelmac and that loss to Dundee Bradford, certainly not good. But in the other games, they've been able to win. And right now, if you look at it, it's not really a super strong and deep ranking here on the girls' side. You got Newark at 5, so even, like you say, a big week up for them. East Rochester girls losing to Minders. They gave them a hit, dropped out of the top 5. Waterloo girls rising. Lions girls hanging in there. Bloomfield girls might be the most underrated team in this bunch.
9-2.
I think we're going to have to take a closer look at them going forward here. Of course, not playing maybe some of the games like, Dundee Bradford playing a team out of Finger Lakes East like Minders. I'd like to see Bloomfield take on a Newark or a Wayne or a Minders. And then Wayne sneaking in there at 10. So thoughts, fellas?
I think for me personally anyway, I'd like to see a little bit of love for maybe Marcus Whitman girls at this point.
7-3.
Yeah. Admittedly better record than Wayne, I believe, right?
Easier schedule. Whitman's won the games that you think that they would win, and I don't think they've really stepped up to beat a team that maybe they weren't favored against.
I mean, I guess, but they won all their games last week. Wayne went 500. For me personally, it's
Marcus Whitman lost by 23 to Dundee Bradford and
kept it closer than Minders.
beat HJC by 6, lost by 37 to Bloomfield.
Yeah, that was the big one to me, where I was like, okay, Whitman's really not going to hang with the top of the league. Bloomfield and Dundee Bradford beat him by a combined 50-something points.
Yeah.
Beat South Seneca by 2, sorry.
No, you're good.
That was a good win.
Yep.
I'll say this, especially on the girls' side of things, you get beyond 3 for me, and I feel like at this point, 4th, admittedly through like 9, probably could interlock out with each other given what results happen week to week at this point. I think that goes to what we've kind of been talking about to a degree, obviously collectively. So, yeah, it's one of those things where we're getting to that point of the schedule where one game really does kind of make all the difference in a sense.
It is flattens out a little bit at the bottom, but I'm sure there's a lot of Bloomfield fans out there that are being like, "What? We should be up there at least 5th or 6th." So we'll keep an eye and see what happens as moving forward here as we get almost we're past the midway point. Today's the 15th of January, so we're moving towards February, and that means moving towards Valentine's Day and sectional brackets and all that good stuff. But now let's switch it over, take a look at the boys. And Wayne stays at number 1 despite having the big showdown between 1 and 2 that we were waiting for suspended at halftime due to a power outage. Wayne was winning the game, though. Obviously, nothing to move them out of the top spot here. Unanimous there, I can see. It's number 1. Newark, number 2. Geneva, that double overtime loss to an undefeated Avon team even in a loss there, I think that they got some respect from the voters. Lions, number 4, of course, Geneva beat Lions. So, and Lions with a loss of their own against a good team in C.G. Finney. East Rochester boys might be the ones not getting the respect. I mean, they're undefeated, guys. We got them at 5th. Maybe we need to see them play somebody outside of the Wayne County League. Marcus Whitman boys climbing up to 6th. That's pretty good there. So Finger Lakes East, you got Wayne Newark Geneva, then Marcus Whitman. And yes, Minders did beat Marcus Whitman in Seneca Falls, but apparently the voters like Marcus Whitman. Palmac 7, Gananda and Minders tied for 8th. And the HAC boys, also a team that might be getting a little bit disrespected here in the rankings at 10, although they landed a tough loss this week. Can't remember who it was.
Is that the Soda one?
Sodas?
No, Soda.
School of the Arts. So, yeah, fellas, I don't think there's any complaints about our top 2 or 3, but what about the middle there? What if you're East Rochester? You got to be like, what do we got to do? It's January 15th. We're 11-0. We're not even.
Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule right now. I mean, yeah, they've played a ton of just Wayne County schools.
They mentioned close wins too. They're not really making statement wins against some of these lesser teams, or we might concern ourselves as being lesser teams.
They did play Charles G. Finney, and they won by 9. And didn't Lions lose?
Just lost to Finney.
Yeah, so there's a quality one, I would say.
Isn't it funny, though, that Lions gets out of Dodge in Wayne County, and they might have had a rival this year in East Rochester had they stayed in the league. Of course, I don't think Lions is doing it just for 1 or 2 teams. I think it's more like top to bottom. They're not really preparing themselves playing that schedule when you consider the bottom half of the league especially. Kind of not what it was 5 or 6 years ago. But, yeah, I think East Rochester might have something to complain about. And I think Minders might be like, why are we 3 spots below Whitman? We beat Whitman. But Whitman's really had some nice wins, and the Minders boys, not really any signature wins. They've kind of won the games that they probably should have won and lost the games that they probably were underdogs in. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that Minders has a lot of ebbs and flows, as he kind of mentioned.
Consistency problems.
Yeah, I guess for a sense it'd be the shoes on the other foot here with me, with them comparing them to Newark girls, I guess, in a way. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of sit on this, I guess, to a degree, too, but I just feel like I look at the way I vote anyway, and the boys, again, that mid-pack, I feel like you could swap them out, and you tell me one team won one game and lost another game, I'd be like, yeah, I'd believe it. And I don't know. It's one of those things for me that I just try. I think for me, the way I look at it, right, and I've said before, is like, did you win the week? Go from there, and then you kind of look at quality at that point, and it's just tough. I mean, I think you look at the example that we gave, right? Minders beats Whitman, but Whitman since then, right, 7 in a row. And it's all pretty, for the most part, convincing wins in a sense. Like, it's one of those things where I think quantity meets quality there, and that's how I kind of view things at that point.
Yeah, and a lot of double-digit losses for Minders against teams in their league. And they did beat Mid-Lakes, of course, by double digits last time out. But you see right here, it's like up, down, up, down. No, like 2-3 game win streaks, and Marcus Whitman is doing that right now. So,
and I think that, too, kind of goes in, like you mentioned, the HAC Lions connection with a mutual opponent, right? But I think for me, the way I look at it, too, is like, I look at it, too, like, where did we have them in the season, right, and stuff like that. Like, we still expected Lions to be good, and they're still are good, right? We didn't necessarily have HAC on the radar, which naturally makes it harder to break into that level, and I think that kind of plays a little bit of a part in it as well.
Yeah, I agree. Well, more action this coming week. Let's take a look at the schedules and the games we're going to have our eye on coming up here. Starting out here with the boys. You see Newark stepping out of the lead to play Hornell
10-1. Hornell is.
That game is happening in about an hour down at Keuka College, actually.
Yep.
And then move ahead to Tuesday. East Rochester puts their undefeated record on the line at Red Creek. Bloomfield playing Leroy. That's an interesting game. Leroy usually tough. And then Lions, look at that, playing that Avon team like we were talking about, Kyle. That'll be a tough test for the Lions. The Lions got to, they've lost to Geneva. They lost to C.G. Finney. They need a win against a quality opponent to kind of build some of the confidence, I suppose. And this will be a good chance. Mid-Lakes at Marcus Whitman. Wayne at Geneva. That's another big game in the East, and I think we'll be there, right, for that one, Paul? You guys calling that one?
Yep, can confirm. Me and Kyle will be in Geneva tomorrow night for Wayne at Geneva. And that was a game even before last Friday we had targeted at this point. So we're looking forward to that. Been a couple years since we've been up in the Panther Den, actually, if I recall right. So we're looking forward to it.
All new Panther Den, yeah.
So should be fun.
And then moving forward through the week, we have, of course, we keep the Victor and Canandaigua games on there for you guys. Former Finger Lakes East teams, still local teams, but we do cover the Wayne Finger Lakes here predominantly. And there's that Palmac Newark game. Dundee, Bradford, Penn Yan in the West. Sodas Ganando will be a good one on Thursday night, as will North Rose, Wolcott, and Red Creek, which is a bit of a rivalry game if you have ever been in the gym for one of those. That's kind of like the Miners Waterloo of the northeast corner of Section 5. Bloomfield's at Red Jacket on Friday. HAC boys coming down to play South Seneca Romulus. Palmac at Miners, as we discussed. Wayne at Whitman. So, hey, Whitman want to keep that winning game streak going. Good luck on Friday night. Wayne's coming to town, the Wayne train in tow. And then Geneva, Newark. I mean, so if you're talking Finger Lakes East right now, this is the week. And then, hey, guess what? We got what we wanted. Bloomfield and East Rochester, kind of a cross-league matchup to test the undefeated Bombers as Bloomfield comes to town. But, man, what a week we got. We got all the teams in the top of the East. Geneva, Wayne, Whitman, Wayne coming to Whitman, I should say, Palmac, Geneva, Newark. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, this is the week that I don't know about necessarily do or die, right? But if you have the opportunity to, say, go and get a quote-unquote easy win, you better not leave it to chance. And obviously, though, the heavier stuff is a lot of these head-to-heads all through the week. It's
Great week to watch scoreboards on Finger Lakes 1.
I don't know. What would the equivalent of mid-January feast week be? Can we come up with anything, you think? Or
post MLK, I don't know. But this is officially where we're, you get done with Christmas holiday and New Year's, and then all of a sudden you get another holiday on a Monday for Martin Luther King Day. Now, for here on out, it's a straight sprint till the February break.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Isn't next week midterm week for the kids, right?
I don't know.
A little bit of like a one game each only type deal.
All I know is only 30 days from today is the final games that are played during the regular season.
Yeah, it goes by fast once the holidays are over. So, see what's on tap for the girls this week. Gananda going to take on
That game's actually happening as we speak, I believe. I think that was like a
2 o'clock start.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And then on tomorrow night, the young women are at HAC.
I don't question prep schools or private schools, I guess.
I believe they're like 4-8 from what I looked at earlier.
Okay.
So.
Romulus girls taking on Bloomfield, and Bloomfield, Dundee, Bradford at Whitman. There you go, Paul. You like the Whitman girls? Let's see how they handle themselves when the Lady Brave Scots come to town on Tuesday night.
I'm just saying.
It's a big game. That's a big game in the West, right?
Yeah, a little respect for them, a little respect for South Central girls as well on the way here the past month now or so. So.
Yep. Newark girls at Palmac on Wednesday. Waterloo girls at Minders. Now, the Minders, and everybody who's faced Waterloo in recent years has been unsuccessful. Now, this is a chance on Wednesday night with Waterloo being beatable now coming into Minders for maybe these Minders girls to get something they haven't gotten in a while, and that's a win over their rival Waterloo. So that might be one of the games of the night, if not the game of the night. And then moving ahead here to Thursday night, Whitman on the road in Romulus, Dundee, Bradford's at Naples. Clyde Savannah girls taking on East Rochester, South Seneca girls at HAC, Red Jacket Bloomfield, a little West flavor on Thursday night. Then Friday night, Penn Yan at Wayne, North Rose Wolcott at Geneva, Minders at Palmac. So not your traditional Friday night with a full Finger Lakes East slate, but that Minders Palmac game we talked about earlier. And then Saturday, Waterloo at Gananda. That's a little something different. Newark at East High. That's a little something different. And then Bloomfield, East Rochester on the girls' side. That'll be a good one.
I just realized that's a doubleheader, isn't it? Because Bloomfield's, the boys are on the road for that game, right?
Are they both on the road?
I think so.
I don't know.
That's a doubleheader.
I do like the boys-girls doubleheaders. You don't see them much.
How about it?
But, yeah, certainly some gems on the schedule here as well. I really do.
Yep, doubleheader.
Yeah.
Yeah, boys-girls doubleheader should be more of that.
Agreed. Especially, here's looking at you, Waterloo and Minders again, for example, right?
Well, I used to do it. I mean, that was one of the reasons we started. I don't know if it's the sole reason, but when we were broadcasting games with the full video and stuff, we would beg the ADs to do these boys-girls doubleheaders because we could set up our equipment, get 2 good games, and they end up being really nice community nights where you see people turning out. If you've got a parent or family member on a girl's side and you're not going to see much of the boys that season, you're always playing opposite places all season long. So when you do these boys doubleheaders, it really is a great atmosphere in the gym and a really nice community night. And you'll also see people who don't have affiliations with the student athletes, just general fans come out for those a lot. And they used to be packed gyms. I mean, Waterloo once used to have their band in there. It had a college atmosphere at the SPO Center in Waterloo.
Yeah, I mean, just not to go back to Friday night, but it was a packed house for Newark Wayne, right? But slightly less on the student section because girls are playing in Newark that night. So, and I get it, but I remember when I was in high school, not to date myself here at this point, but we're talking 12 years ago now, give or take. It used to be staggered nights. I don't know what kind of happened there, but I remember being able to go to handle my duties on the boys basketball side of things, doing the video stuff I was doing, and then go and be a fan at the girls' games the next night, or vice versa. So I don't know what happened. Maybe it's beyond our control in that sense. So,
well, I think you got the JVs scheduled too. So I always say, well, send the JVs to have their own doubleheader.
Sure. Yeah.
And then keep the varsities together. Yeah, well, maybe we can talk to some athletic directors and see what the deal with that is. But I don't see us having too much influence in what the scheduling of Section 5 basketball. I certainly know they don't listen to us once we get to the postseason either. No.
So, quick programming note.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow we already said Wayne at Geneva Boys, 7:30. Me and Kyle Evans, and then also Friday night, Minders at Palmac girls. We're doing that with Palmac students again.
Oh yeah,
up there. So. Looking forward to that, and give everybody a little nugget. We're also going to be having a video element for Friday night in conjunction with the stream up there in Palmac, so we're looking forward to that.
We're streaming through the Finger Lakes 1 channels, YouTube channel, not the Palmac School channel. Okay, well, there's something. Yeah, and Kyle, you've obviously been keeping busy with the score updates. This will be a big week. What are you looking for this week?
Yeah, there's a lot of league games. I think there's so many, it's hard to even pick. But yeah, there's been a lot. I mean, last Friday night, there's 23 games on the slate, lots of league games. So based on all the games that are scheduled this week, especially in the league, I would expect these power rankings to shift a little bit. I mean, maybe not a ton, but for example, like we were talking about the Bloomfield girls, do they move up? Does Lions drop further down? I mean, they only beat Williamson by 1. Right. And remember in the beginning of the year, we had them, 4th or 5th, Lions?
At least, yeah.
So, yeah, they kind of been dropping a bit. And Newark's 8-3. Are they going to continue to kind of win games? Wayne, they're coming off a loss, but they have, Kaylee Marvin now. Are they going to get rolling a little bit here?
Yeah, it hasn't seemed to make too big of an impact so far.
Yeah, I believe they're 2-1 with her. They haven't, 3 games is not a lot, but yeah. So, yeah, I just think we're going to see maybe some more movement. Because of the schedule this week. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And we'll see if Lions can take down that undefeated Avon team tomorrow. I think that's a huge game this week.
Yeah, so it's great to have such a full slate of games to check it out. As usual, get to Finger Lakes 1 around 10:30 usually we got the full results thanks to Kyle. Definitely, certainly by the next morning, but we're on top of it. So if you're itching to find out what happened, fingerlakes1.com has the full game reports on a nightly basis. So thanks for joining us here on the Upstate Hoops Podcast. Connect with us on Facebook, X at FingerLakes1, and TikTok at FL1 Sports. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and our audio-only podcast is available most everywhere you enjoy your audio content. You can also find our show, live stream games, and local news, weather, and sports 24/7 on the free fingerlakes1.com Android or iPhone app. Thanks to our sponsors again, Generations Bank, Little John and Barbie Orthodontics, Dr. Jeffrey Halstead, Roselli Northern, Cicino's Pizzeria, and DeSanto Propane. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next Monday. Until then, have a great week, everybody.